Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And now that the Predator class propaganda regarding mandatory masks and mandatory vaccinations has reached a hyper cartoon Twilight Zone level, we are now ready for people within government, this is a city councilwoman behind me, okay, to start trying to make it the law to charge you with crimes if you refuse to bend the knee. And this woman is dead serious about charging you with murder or attempted murder if you do not wear a piece of cloth over your face. The very face that literally exudes your humanity, okay, your personality, really your essence as a human conscious being, because there's a lot of zombies out there right now. There's a whole lot in that zombie class. Maybe that's why they want to vote for Zombie Joe. I'm forward looking to my cognitive... And again, this ain't no Trump commercial. That's not what this is. But this is a video to show you the mental illness that has now reached far and wide that an authoritarian predator class can have their way with Americans. So before we get to that, and yet another article / video calling for mandatory vaccinations, right? If you've been watching this show the past couple days, I've shown you that USA Today article. I've explained how insane it is. I've shown you the doctors there. Well, now we've got another person basically promoting the same thing and invoking 1905. That's right, 1905 court decisions via smallpox on mandatory vaccinations in this country. So guys, before we get started, thumbs the video up, subscribe, share. Remember, I'm fully demonetized on this platform. We're just under about a third of the way through the month, and we're not quite a third of the way to the goal this month. And I really got to try to hit that $5,000 mark because I am moving. I am going to be hopefully taking that trip to Iowa on Friday of this week, finding a place, renting it, and then getting ready to U-Haul it out of New York State. Guys, remember, I'm a documentary filmmaker. All my films are free. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You're thumbing the videos up and you're sharing the information with others. That is of the utmost importance. And remember, you can support me on Rockfin, where there's a lot of other great creators on there. It's like a Netflix for creators. If you pay the $9.99, you get all the premium content, but you'll notice there's a ton of free content too. And I can't suggest enough right now, a free video. Go make a free account right now and go check out Richard Medhurst. I just tweeted out the video. You can't watch it without making the free account, but I'm going to have him on the show hopefully in the near future. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes of what you came for. It's this woman right here. She is a at-large council member out in Tennessee, guys. Here she is. And she wants to charge you with murder or attempted murder for not wearing a mask. This is not parody. This is not The Onion. This is not the Babylon Bee. This is August 9th, 20 mother truckin' 20. All right, let me just read some of this for you. Metro Nashville at-large council member Sharon Hurt said Wednesday during a virtual meeting on the Joint Public Safety and Health Committee that there should be stronger legislation for those not wearing masks and suggested they be charged with murder or attempted murder. Hurt said that she works for an organization that if they pass the virus, then they are tried for murder and attempted murder. Hurt thinks the same standard should apply to the general public. Can you imagine working for an organization like that? Pretty insane, right? We're already at an insanity level, but let's just push it over the top, right? This person who may well pass this virus, may very well pass this virus, that's out in the air because they're not wearing a mask is basically doing the same thing to someone who contracts and dies from it. Maybe there needs to be stronger legislation to say that if you don't wear a mask and you are subject to exposure of this virus to someone else, there will be some stronger penalty, as it is in other viruses that are exposed. Also nonsense. Also complete nonsense. Okay? So, I just want to throw up. Okay? And then on the flip side to this, I want to talk about something else really quickly before we play that propaganda piece coming up on more mandatory vaccinations, which we're going to play in a moment. So difficult. With a media that has lied to us for decades about a ton of things, never held accountable. With government officials, Colin Powell comes to mind with WMDs, but that's a long time ago, right? We're all just going to forget about that. Weapons of mass destruction, people like Joe Biden told you about those too, And then on the flip side of that, you had the Bush administration. There's just tons of liars on behalf of the predator class. They're in media, they're in government, they do it on behalf of billionaires and organizations. They're never held accountable. So when a woman does this, okay, good for her. Woman claiming to be from the bogus Freedom to Breathe agency is filmed telling Orange County grocery store worker that she could go to jail for 5 years for telling customers to wear face masks. Of course, she can't be put in jail for 5 years or up to 5 years, but who cares? Good for this woman. Why are we beholden to different rules, laws, and ideal sets than the predator class and their minions? Or they're just zombie dupes. This is the zombie apocalypse right now, the real one. Like literally people like drooling all over themselves and doing mental gymnastics over and over and over and over and over and over and over again every single moment of every single day during this whole thing, during COVID-19 84. So you know what? I have no idea what this woman's politics are. I have no idea what her personal beliefs are, but good for her for pushing back with, this is propaganda, by the way, but I would say the good kind. And why do I say that? Because she knows what she's doing is false and what she's saying is false, and she's made a lanyard that holds no meaning. But why does somebody else's lanyard that's pre-approved, again, by a predator class matter more? That's the real question you should be asking yourselves. And now that we have that USA Today article, it's time to start exposing that this is now going to be the norm, that they're preparing you for mandatory vaccinations throughout the country and trying to show you there are legal precedents for that. Okay, so let's watch this ABC News 10 piece.
As we race to develop a coronavirus vaccine, some major questions are emerging.
One of the questions you're not asking is whether the vaccine will actually prevent COVID-19, which is not what any of these vaccine trials have done. They don't know whether it will prevent COVID-19. They don't know whether it will prevent more deaths. The only thing that these vaccines are doing is possibly maybe producing antibodies for several weeks to several months in individuals. Nothing else. But that's not mentioned, is it?
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. A lot of people are wondering if the government could force people to get it, or could people who refuse get banned from stores or lose their jobs? ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl spoke with a legal expert to get some answers.
So again, they're going to get to the legal experts for some answers, but right out of the gates, he's going to tell you, yeah, they can fire you. Yeah, you won't be able to go here. Yeah, you can't travel. Yeah. What? What are we talking about? We're talking about a discrimination against all free human beings. Doesn't matter about your skin color. Doesn't matter about your gender. This is a human issue that we should all be on board with, against pushing back on a government that wants to mandate medical martial law.
Imagine a world where you have to get vaccinated and show proof to go shopping, board a plane, or just go to work. Legally, it could happen, says University of San Diego law professor Dov Fox.
States can compel vaccinations in more or less intrusive ways. They can limit access to schools or services or jobs if people...
So more or less intrusive ways. We don't want to kick your door down and jab you on the arm. We'd rather just cut you off from civilization and act like that's okay.
People don't get vaccinated. it could force them to pay a fine or even lock them up in jail.
Oh.
Those measures have been adopted in other countries like France, but not so far in the United States.
So again, he points to models in other countries, not based in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our traditions, but says, yeah, no, we'll definitely think about it, right? I mean, in other places, they lock you up. They'll just lock you right up. Huh.
It all dates back to a Supreme Court case in 1905. The court held that Massachusetts could fine people for not getting vaccinated against smallpox. That case became the basis of vaccine requirements at schools across the country.
But you notice, even as far as that went with could fine you, it was never discussed even over 100 years ago whether they put you in jail for it or not. Forget about we just had a person within government say that people should be charged with murder or attempted murder for not wearing a face mask. Okay, that's pretty out there. And now we go back to a 1905 decision on maybe they can fine you if you don't want to take the smallpox vaccine to jumpstart that and to put you in jail.
Courts have found that when medical necessity requires it, the public health outweighs the individual rights and liberties at stake.
Just last year, New York City passed an ordinance fining people for not getting a measles vaccination. But
totally illegal, by the way. Totally illegal. And notice it was an ordinance. Just like we're under all these executive orders. None of these are constitutionally sound laws whatsoever. And in any court with a thinking jury, would be thrown out immediately.
But there's a big difference between what states have the power to do and what Congress could do.
There are these questions, separation of powers, Commerce Clause questions.
Professor Fox says a federal vaccine requirement would probably get shot down by the current Supreme Court.
Let's hope so, but who knows in this point? A federal vaccine requirement.
Based on a 2012 ruling on the Affordable Care Act. That means we could have a patchwork of different vaccination requirements in different states. Professor Fox says states would need to allow exemptions for people with legitimate medical risks like pregnancy, but not exemptions for other reasons.
So no reason other than, a medical exemption, right? And only certain medical exemptions, but they admit a patchwork. And remember, Cuomo was on television this week. We did the video telling you, unless you obey the lockdowns, what? COVID's going to ricochet and it will never end. Never end. So that's also, on board with mandatory vaccinations. You better believe it. And when the New York State Bar Association puts it on paper that not only should the vaccine be mandatory, let me repeat that, mandatory for New Yorkers, but everybody in the country because the Constitution has failed us.
Religious exemptions, philosophical ones, have largely been overridden in the name of public health.
However, Professor...
See, that's a lie. Largely overridden in the name of public health. What does that mean? That means not through a legitimate court system, not through legitimate rulings, but by authoritarian executive orders, the likes of what Cuomo passes on behalf of the predator class, because he is not the godfather, yo. He's like a capo at best. At best. So, you know what? I'm done with that little piece of propaganda. Can't do any more of it. But again, when you've got a woman within government saying that people not wearing masks should be charged with murder or attempted murder, your ears better perk up. Doesn't matter again, 0.6% fatality rate, and it's actually lower. She admits it. You know what? Let's play it again. Let's just play it again because people need to hear this. Remember, if the vaccine is just there to lower the mortality rate, it can only be lowered, even if it was perfect, right? Which we know it won't be. The max it could lower the fatality rate is 0.6%. That's a little over half of 1%, but they want 100% of us to take it. And remember, this woman is going to tell you that there's probably a lot more infections that would in turn lower the fatality rate even further.
What we understand about mortality, there's different ways that mortality can be calculated. And if we look very crudely, if we look at the number of people that have died over the number of people that have been reported, you get a certain percentage. What many groups are looking at right now is what we're calling the infection fatality ratio, which is looking at the number of deaths among all of the people who have been infected. And right now, we don't know how many people have been infected because there are challenges with surveillance and detecting every single one of the cases. And certainly, there are many unrecognized cases at the moment. What we understand from many of these studies, these are estimates of the IFR, the infection fatality ratio, is that the estimates hover around less than 1% of 0.6%.
0.6%. There are obviously certainly more infections that would lower the rate. And oh yeah, by the way, there have been zero spikes since any protests, any mass gatherings, any concerts like this one 2 weeks ago. People not social distancing. Zero spikes. We're talking now 6 to 8 weeks later after these protests started. Okay? Zero spikes. No one reports on it. No one acts like that's a reality. Instead, I have to listen to people like this. It is baffling. It is insanity. And it is a reason that I got to keep doing this. So if you can support me financially, thank you. It really does mean the world to me. $5, $10, $15. Big donors. Again, without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So please thumbs the video up, subscribe, and share. Go check out my films Invisible Empire and Shade the Motion Picture if you are unaware of a larger globalist agenda for the regimentation of all human beings. That's what this is about. This is a transhumanist, globalist movement to put us into visible slavery. Share the videos, thumbs them up, make sure you are subscribed and ringing that bell for notifications. And remember, you can also support me over at rockfin.com, where if you do become a premium member and you do endorse me, you get a ton of other great creators from Graham Elwood, Ron Placone, Sam Tripoli, Ben Askren, Duke Rufus. Okay, legendary coach, he's on there as well now, and an expanding amount of great content creators. And again, create a free account right now and go check out the latest Richard Medhurst video over there because it is awesome, and I can't wait to have him on the program. I absolutely love you guys. These issues are not right and left issues, okay? They are human issues because it's never about right or left. It's about right and wrong. I'll see you on the flip side.